My name is Kevin Sherman, aka Juvenile.
Oh, but brother, just look at me, like just
All right,
like yeah, it's like me and you having a
all right.
conversation.
You gotta know where you from too much.
Yeah.
Most-
So, all right. Yeah.
Name Kevin Sherman, aka Juvenile, born and raised uptown New Orleans. Went to prison at the age of 15 years old with a life sentence.
All right. So you went to prison at 15.
Yes.
So tell me about that transition because when you went in, you were a teenager and you had to.
Like I always tell most people, the transition was easy for me because my environment had already prepared me for that. I mean, getting to Angola as a young kid, the only thing I felt was different was the barbed wire fence and the gauze. That's it. Other than for as the living conditions, the survival methods, I've been around that all my life. So I was already prepared for that kind of atmosphere.
When how did you feel initially like when they told you you had life like what was going through your
I
head?
mean, it ain't really dawned on me till days later, right? Because being young, you're hearing, you're talking to guys, and this ain't gonna happen, that ain't gonna happen. But once it actually happened, you know, you're trying to believe it, and you're trying not to believe it, right? So that was the burden of wrestling with. Did I hear correctly, or am I wake up and this is really a dream? That type of thing. So it's really unexplainable unless you actually had to be in that position. Then the brothers who been in that position can identify with, because I'm pretty much sure that's how it went with them too, being young.
So like that transition from being a teenager to a man, what was that like? Like
Once again, it's simple because automatically you can't be a kid. You going where grown men at, and you gotta present yourself as well, because if not, you're gonna run into all kind of complications. So it started from me young, going in and out of youth facilities. This just was another phase, right? I'm just going where older people at, but the same mentality.
so so what were some of the things by you going in so young? Were you involved in school? Were you into anything like were you just was it you were still just wild and
Yeah, I seen I seen a different transition with young guys coming in prison. After I was in prison a while and I saw other young guys coming, old young guys came in prison strictly what a law library. I'm trying to get out here. When I went, as far as concerned, I was put in the worst environment from day one. So my mentality was the worst of the worst. So I had to prove myself and did a lot of other things that, that goes on in prison. I was wilding out.
so when did you when did you just I imagine you decided to change at some point in there.
Yes, the transition for me came, like I say, seeing a lot of other younger brothers coming up there and seeing them really getting the books and getting some play. Unfortunately, I was transferred away from Angola to another facility because they claim I had so many enemies. A lot of people claiming they can't live around me and so forth. So I was transferred to another institution. Uh, and when I went to DC, first I went to Rayburn. I couldn't adjust to that kind of environment after being in Angola for so long. So
What was the difference?
the difference is the respect level. The free folks has, they call you nigga, boy. I mean, it was a slave camp to me. And coming from where I come from, it was going to be hard to adjust. So I got caught up in some country band stuff, wound up assaulting a correction officer, and they shipped me to DCI. DCI was a really turning point for me. Everything positive because when I went there, the security found out what type of person I was in Angola, young, wild, young man, this and that. So they had a youth defender program called YOP. So they come to me saying that you'll be a good fit to go work with the young kids who can't go in population at the youth defender program. So I became a peer counselor in the youth defender program, working with young men, 15, 14 years old, who were sentenced by the judge to the youth defender program. And that changed my whole scope because I wanted all these young men to understand that just because they made a mistake, they still had another life ahead. So in order for me to preach that, I had to show that change. So that was one of the greatest moves for me to be sent to Dixon Correction Institute. And I really found the passion to see other young brothers not have to go through what I went through, and to try to make sure they get this on their first trip because the next trip may be worse or even death. So that changed my whole thinking. And I took on these young men who've been released from prison right now. I be with them. They called me Uncle Nile because I gave them the really nurturing they needed from somebody who actually lived the life that they was trying to live.
So you would say I would imagine it's extremely difficult for people to try to reach the youth nowadays, especially if they've never been in that situation, so they don't know the thought process and everything. So like while you speaking to them, would it be like a light going off on when you talking to him? Like, damn, he really understands us. He really gets it. And by doing that, it made it easier for you to reach him.
Yeah, well, the thing about it, I wasn't judging them. I gave them my story, right? We ain't about to, I ain't about to be like these people telling y'all pull y'all pants up and all that. That's the least of my worry, right? I want to make sure you come in here taking advantage of the GED, the trades, because you're young, you got a chance. And if you acquire all these things, the judge calls you back and give you another opportunity to go into society. So this was my thing to them. And the thing of telling them that, you know, I'm doing this for them, and I may very well die in prison. But I cared enough to see them go out there and do right. So, you know, let them know, man, y'all done help me much as I done help y'all. Because now I'm thinking about freedom. Something I didn't really too much consider. But now I'm seeing the free world. I'm seeing, sat on a yard, I can see outside the streets with cars and all that passing. Right, I hadn't seen this for 30 years. So now this you go to seeing the road, and you go to seeing people going, the beds look like swap meet every day. Somebody going, people coming in, somebody going. You begin to get hope, right? That's what those institutions do for brothers who been in Angola, and they come to see that. They say, wait a minute, there's some light for me. If not, I wouldn't be here, right? So that kind of change your mentality and your thinking.
And so that yeah, like you're saying, that gives you hope and whatnot. And then like, what would that do for your spirit? Like knowing that you're reaching these brothers, and then even some of the ones that you're seeing on the outside, like can you have a particular interaction with one of them that you kind of, you know, that I'm sure you remember a lot of them. Was it one that really like stood out where a brother might have been like, man, he really like saved me?
Yeah, yes. I got one that I love. I love him to death, right? And he born and raised around this area, but and he's still in and out of trouble. But he finally got it. He just had a kid. He finally getting his life on the right track. This and that. But let me tell you, man. When you see a young brother that you saw yourself in him, and you develop him and see a change and a growth, you be the excited person in the world. Especially when you've been a taker all your life. I never given nothing to nobody. I've been a taker all my life. So now I'm able to give. That's just like being out here in this world. And I always tell people a lot of time, you can invest a lot of money, a lot of places. But the real investment is into brothers who actually live that life, who've been through something and coming back to want to change that environment, right? That's the credibility of the community. Those are the ones that the boys gonna talk to, because when they hear those names, those are the same name they heard coming up and they wanted to be like, right? And sharing that story and interacting with those young men make a lot of difference. And there's not a lot of that in this city that's real. So this is why we have a lot of problems that we have, because nothing really being invested to brothers to go get, right? If you tell me I have to go get 5 kids off the corner that's really on the corner, tell Troy go get them, and y'all invested money in it, we gonna go get them. Because we gonna show them, hey, you're gonna get a job, right? There's somebody in this world that you love more than, that you love probably more than yourself. That gotta be your why. If you give a young man a why, I guarantee you, he gonna be in the center, see life different. But we're not investing in these type of guys or programs that gonna change the whole dynamic of the violence and a lot of other stuff that's taking place in here. Right? So we hoping that a lot of that philosophy change, because we got a 34-time convicted president in the White House. So why a brother with one conviction can't, you know what I'm saying? We have to not condemn black brothers because they made a mistake. But on the other hand, they make mistakes and they seem like they uplifted. So that's the thing. And one of my biggest hopes that all the brothers that's coming home that really doing great things in their life and really trying to make a difference come together and put something together for these young men that the city never seen, that they ain't gonna have no choice but to get on board, because it's gonna be a game changer.
So it's pretty safe to say, like, we give them something to look forward to, because it's like they took trades out of school. They took, the music, just everything is geared toward self-destruction.
Well, this is the thing. If you tell me, now go get the young man off the corner, right? He don't need to be on the corner. My question to you is, what you gonna replace the corner with? Because we don't know why he on that corner. Being on that corner might be the way he feed his grandma, his little sister. They depend on him. So if you're gonna see me to get him off the corner, give me something to bring to him. A job. Something that can substitute, so I can let him know, hey, if your grandma and your little sister is all you got, if you get killed on the corner, go to jail, then who got him? Let me give you this job. You're gonna be here for him. That's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. It's easy for me to go tell a young man, get off the corner. My family eat every night. I have a home. So it's easy for me to go tell a young man, get off the corner, because I'm not faced with his problems. But years ago, I was that same young man. Nobody never came and asked me why I was on that corner. They just judged me, talked about me. And it's the reality. And we overlooking it. We trying to sugarcoat it. We're not really stepping on the problem that really exists. Because I personally believe, being on that corner, I never wanted to go to prison. I never wanted to die on that corner. But I felt like I had no other choice but to take those risks. Because the truth of the matter, all I had was my grandmother. Never knew my father. Mother was a dope fiend. So all I had was my grandmother. And I was going to do anything to make sure she was okay, because she made sure I was okay. But if I would have given something different and say, hey, if you love your grandma that much, she's getting old, how about we give you this so you can be your widow instead of this conda? Nobody never came to me with that kind of deal.
So what? I think like what kind of message would you want to? If you had to just tell the guy on the corner something, you know, to try to pull him away. I mean, you know, try to just.
First of all, if you're on the corner and I know that this young man got potentials, my first thing gonna be with what can I do, right? First, I need to get to know your situation and circumstances. Then once I get to know that, then I need to know how may I help you take a better route? Because I see something in you and I know this ain't it. So what can I do to help you get closer to the other side than this side, which I'm telling you going to lead you to the graveyard or to prison, right? What happens is a lot of people go to these young guys, promise them the big picture, get them into the programs, eat off them, and they never get to reap nothing from it, right? So now when somebody real go to them and try to help them, you got to do a lot of control damage, and so many people have lied to them, right? So trying to build that trust and believing what you're talking about, you gonna have to work harder. You got to do a lot of damage control because people that came and lied to them so much.
So tell me, like because you initially you had life, right? Tell me about when you found out that you were gonna be able to go home, and then I imagine through all the different programs and what you were doing, when you touched down, you were inspired to, like, this is what I was meant to come back out here and do, was try to turn around.
You know what was my when I went to DCI where I told the transition begin, right? My prayer became, God, if you ever get me out here, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure no young man, no young woman had to come through what I went through, right? That was my constant thing. So coming home, got with a guy in Baton Rouge, started an organization, or in Baton Rouge. The organization was great, working with the young people, but when I encountered with Mitch, and Mitch found out the work, Mitch Landry, which was the mayor at that time, found out some of the work I was doing, told me to get in a program to get myself together. So I got in a program, came to New Orleans, got in a program, Strive, graduated through that, right? And then opportunity came to me to oversee the Fatherhood of Male Initiative for the city of New Orleans. And I took it, right? And that's medicine, helping these young men, especially the young dads, because not having one, you understand the importance, right? Because without that father in my house, I went to the streets looking for him, right? And men who I really thought loved and cared about me were sending me straight to hell, right? So I always remind guys who got kids, they got to think of that, right? And that's a big thing with a lot of our young men. They're getting put in situations and nobody really helping them navigate themselves around them. So sometimes desperate situations calls for desperate measures. And when a young man hasn't been given no outlets or people that really sit down and try to help him navigate themselves through situations they've never been in, then it's going to be a destructive situation 9 out of 10. So, my message to the man on the corner and the people that say that they're trying to help him, for the young brother, the man that's on the corner, the message is that you have to find a better way. There's a better way, right? And for the people who claim that they want to help these brothers, you got to really stick to that. That's not a just a word speaking out your mouth. You got to stand firm to that, because brothers come out my world, and in my world, I mean, without a word, you don't have a leg to stand on.
So tell me about. So you're in jail. You're praying. You're telling God, when you let me out, this is what I'm doing. Then you go from that to you in conversations with the mayor. And I imagine you felt like I belong here. This is what I was meant to do. Tell me a little bit about that organization
That
and what that experience was like.
that I mean, for one thing, when you come from, we come from, you get a government job, period, you be like, whoa, this is something somebody say I'd never be able to do, right? Then you going to meeting people, you going to these balls where you got judges, lawyers, and that dressed in tuxedo, you got your tuxedo on. Then you begin to realize this ain't hard at all, right? What people think is so hard to accomplish and do, these ordinary people that just took the opportunity and seized the moment. So it gave motivation, and then traveling around the world, speaking and talking, and commanding an audience of 5,000 plus people and stuff, man, you begin to like, this is what God planned was for you at all the time, right? I don't believe none of this is by accident. I truly feel in my heart, had not been in prison, me and you wouldn't be having this conversation, because I've been in the graveyard. So I think that, not that I needed to be there for 30 years, but God sustained me by putting me on the shelf until he felt that I was ready to come out here and do the work that he called for me to do.
So you say you traveled. Like, what are some of the places that
I done been to almost every state in the United States.
what did you realize going to each one of these states?
Oh,
Was there anywhere?
so I have a group of brothers. We founded an organization called Reaching Out Brothers Everywhere, and these brothers is some of the amazing brothers, and the headquarters in Atlanta. The sister organization is Reaching Our Sisters Everywhere. So we put on conferences. We done been had to go to New Mexico and all that to put on conferences. And what I love about being a part of a group of guys, because they accepted me, and I'm the only convicted felon. They're lawyers, doctors. I'm talking about top of the line doctors, or lawyers, teachers, and never was, you've been to prison. No, they give me the lead at any time, and they believe that I'm going to deliver. So having that experience, but going to DCI once again, beginning to see things from a different perspective, I got in Toastmasters, right? Because I wanted to be a better speaker, I wanted to be a better listener, so I got into Toastmaster.
What's that?
It's a speaking or thing. Your presidents, some of your top judges in the world, they're Toastmasters. So I obtained the highest honor you can get in Toastmasters, which is DTM. So that's, international, go anywhere around the world and speak. So those things, always, when I go back to the prison system now, I always tell brothers, don't listen to the hype that you're taking this, you're taking that for nothing. Ain't no, get anything you can get free, education wise, because you want it in your portfolio. Because somewhere down the line, it gonna open the door for you. You just have to be ready and prepared when that door open.
So what you say about seeing all these different states and different places, it's the same. It's the same shit everywhere.
Oh, I'm gonna share a thing that I didn't know, and I don't know if Troy never knew about it, but everywhere I go, soon I get to my hotel, I Google where the hood at. But this is what I do. And one of my business associates told me this. I Googled Martin Luther King Boulevard. The shame to say, everywhere I went, Martin Luther King Boulevard is the hood. That's where you're gonna find everything. And I'm like, this is what they think it is. Look what we doing to the after I go to sin. I'm saying, man, we doing some injustice to this man, right? That's just Google Martin Luther King. That way you're gonna get all the soul food, everything in that area, cause they want the blacks confined and get his name the worst name they can give, right? And I went to learning these things. I'm like, man, so getting away, always was frightened of a plane. Now I love the plane, right? And God continue to bless me. Beautiful wife, my grandkids. I mean, so God has truly blessed me, continue to bless me. I'm a deacon in my church. So I think that God got bigger things for me. I just have to stay the course.
Is there anything that you want to touch on that you feel like maybe it goes overlooked or whatnot? It doesn't necessarily have to be in jail. It could be people outside. Just what's some advice you would want to share with people where they kind of like overlook it or they take it for granted.
One thing I think is overlooked, the true desire of a lot of young people in the communities is overlooked. Just because you see them on the corner, that's not all of them true desire. Give some opportunities to them, and I guarantee you're gonna see less of them on the corner. That's one of the biggest things, because every time I see one of the young brothers getting put in a car or getting gunned down, it saddens me. It saddens me because being in prison, you always learn that in that incident, 2 or multiple lives has been destroyed. The deceased, the in prison, the kids, the families. So we have to understand how to channel that and combat that with a lot of brothers that can really speak to that issue. That's point blank. The solution that they be looking for, I be totally against it, because I'm not a man of solution. I'm a man of prevention. So when people go to talk about solutions, I always tell them, when we got these kids, should be thinking about prevention. But when it comes to our kids, they want them to go overboard. They ain't gonna try to find a solution. Your solution is throwing them away in prison. That's why we can't put prevention things in place. So I would like to see more preventional, real-time, realistic programs, right? And not nothing just coming from the book sense. Because a lot of young men, you're not going to reach them with the books because they want to know what your experience was. Don't tell me you feel my pain and you ain't never went to bed hungry. You was born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but you feel my pain. How? because you read a book that told you how a person feel so you can identify with me, that's not realistic.
You got anything you want to say, bro?
Rehabilitation inside the prison, bro. Or you know it.
When we talk about rehabilitation inside the prison, when I was in Angola, that word was actually a joke to me. I didn't really understand what rehabilitation was until I went to DCI, because I seen what people was doing. They was being rewarded going back on the street, right? Rehabilitation means I'm preparing you for an exit. In Angola, we wasn't being prepared for no exit. We was being prepared to be long-time slaves and down the plantation. The very ward that took over the prison made that known. 85% to 95% of people are going to die here. So what a rehabilitation? What, you took all the hope from me when you said that, because I'm in that number. And you put that on national TV. So I holded you to that. So what is rehabilitation in it? You have to point it out to me. Because you just told the news people and the people in the world that you inhabit a prison where 85 to 90% of men gonna die. So you talking about the only people that's going home is the ones that got a few years. And that's limited, very limited. So now, if I had any hope, you took it. So, I mean, is there programs? There's a lot of programs. And I know a lot of people that graduated from every program there was in Angola. And they're still in Angola in the cemetery at Point Lookout. They still there. Education and all. On Point Lookout, the graveyard. Got many brothers that went through every program, then ran the prison, taught everything in the prison. And if their family didn't come and give them, they write on that form in an unmarked grave. So, rehabilitation is got to be within what you define it as. Oh, that's Big E. So that's what's like when, like I say, when I saw a transfer of young brothers coming to Angola, they took programs and created, because they were trying to help each other. And it wasn't about rehabilitation. They was about trying to figure out how can we get together and get into this and get in that so we can go home, right? So we bonding through these programs, not what the system is considered rehabilitation. We're bonding because if we don't help each other, we all gonna die together here. So that is something that you gotta deal with then. I never, like I say, even much considered or gave thought to that word until I went to DCI and saw where people rehabilitating themselves, they're really rewarded for it. And that's a big difference. Although you need it, it make it more exciting because I'm getting it in, I'm getting my freedom. 90 days knocked off, not meaning 90 days that I ain't gonna never see, 90 days that are gonna put me closer to the gate. Rehabilitation, when go to Angola, don't have a GED of nothing, but you don't put me in school, you put me straight to the field. If you're about rehabilitation, the first initiative should be educating first. Right? What's his education? Oh, he don't have this and that. Well, let's educate him first. Right? Put you in the field with a bunch of more people uneducated, chaos, people getting hit in the head with tools. I ain't never used a tool in my life. I don't know what a disc swing blade was. When I first got a disc swing blade and swung it, I let it swing all the way over. I'm going to cut somebody's head off. That's rehabilitation. I mean, so we have to really look at what that really means. And like I said, to me, it's something that's within that person itself. Has nothing to do with the system. Tell me where I'm at. Yeah. So that's a big thing, and that's why I applaud a lot of the brothers that took it on themselves to get the education they need to come out here and be successful.
So you fix your mic, bro?
Looking for you.
All right.
So you know, we can go on about that subject because is a lot when you talk about rehabilitation and what the system does. Or do they really care, right? Because when I think about rehabilitation, I think about some of the young men that I done dealt with out here that go to some of the juvenile homes that I don't feel like the system understand. If you got a little kid, not a troubled kid, but he went into Walmart and got busted stealing a pack of meat, and you send him to the youth study center where you got some young boys that really in the streets. Now this young boy who had a simple little crime, then went and met him some friends, and he'll never be the same again. Behind trying to feed his sister or somebody, steal a pack of meat. Now he'll never be the same again. You'd expose him to a whole nother life.